Welcome to Doorways to the Self. I am your host and creator of the summit, Diane Sussman, and I am so excited that you're here. As we sit together on the threshold of this new eon, each of us asks ourselves, what am I bringing with me? And what must I shift in order to open a doorway and step through that threshold to the other side? And really, what must I get rid of? What is no longer a part of my life? And what is possible for all in love and freedom and possibility as we come collectively to this place? I've been spending months working on this summit, so it is finally here, and I just can't tell you how over the moon I am to be with you today and introduce you to what I'm calling the Temple of Beauty. And it's actually an etheric temple. So as we open into this space together, we can bring our imaginations and our creativity and our wholeness and our wellness with us to this place. As we know, the universe is sending us every single thing we need to thrive at our highest level. And each of these speakers brings a wealth of wisdom to this portal. So this is a time to slow down, to feel all of the abundance that is waiting for you here. Think of it like a cornucopia of wisdom and goodness. So much goodness. We're meant to be beings of love. And this is how we came into the world as babies. We were just open. We want to get back to that place. And of course, the challenge is to tap into that greater field of possibility and consciousness and really bring all of yourself to this place. And yet at the same time, to allow yourself to be guided. So how can we be vulnerable? How can we let our curiosity replace the kind of habits of doubt and fear that we bring with us to so many different circumstances in our lives? How can we become students of the unknown and not needing to have it all together yet? We can really come and step onto this threshold together. I call it the threshold of your becoming. So today, I invite you into the Temple of Beauty. It's an etheric temple, as I said, made up of glistening pillars and luminous doorways. Imagine a door with little cracks all around it with this light just glistening and inviting you in. And not needing to have anything extra that wouldn't allow you to really come here. Extra would be all the baggage that we hold on to, right? Our guilt and our shame and all those emotions that really take us out. So the Temple of Beauty, what is that? In my imagining, it's somewhat like the Temple of Delphi, where you have Athena's temple, kind of a circular temple all around, where the people are living and meditating together and singing together and really doing ritual. So let's bring in that energy of ancient Greece. If you've ever seen pictures of the Temple of Athena, it only has some pillars left, 3 or 4 pillars left, but you can, in your imagination, really open to that space and imagine what it must have been like to be there. In the Temple of Delphi, there is a doorway, and at this point, it's only like a stone portal doorway, but over the top, it has the words, "Know thyself." And people did pilgrimage there. they went to visit the divine oracle. But what I learned when I was in Greece is that it was actually not one oracle, but a whole group of priestesses who would take turns and becoming the oracle. And what that spoke to me about was that there was a time in that time in which people had actually mastered their intuition, and they lived by their intuition and their ability to bring other worlds down into the body, into this. They were like soothsayers, so we don't really need to be, telling people's fortunes at this point. But it's so interesting that we have that ability to rediscover in this day and age some of those ancient wisdoms that were very much in play at that time. So this is kind of what I'm thinking of when I invite you into this temple, that we can open up to all these tools that we have. And as you know, or as I'm sharing with you right now, we have real wisdom guides that are part of this summit who are going to bring their aspects, something that they've worked on, these wisdom keepers who have been spending decades in their own craft, bringing their wisdom forward and sharing it so beautifully in these interviews to the service of your higher calling. So listen for the clues. What works best for you now? These are doorways for you. Doorways to the self, not the small ego self, where we hold fears and grudges against ourselves and others, but really the greater self. I call it the self with the capital S, right? A deepening into our soul beings, what we came here to do, our dharma, our sacred duty and purpose in this world. So dharma is a Sanskrit term, and it means really more than duty. It's really your life purpose. It's bringing all of that which you have come here to do and to be, to get in touch with that, and to know that you're really living in your own truth and your own strength. It's like the big why, as they say. So when we're coming into this temple, it may look different for you than it looks for me. It could be like a labyrinth for you, where you're going in and maybe getting lost a little bit, but then finding your way again. It could be a spiral, a staircase that you're willingly walking up and going into higher and higher levels of your own awareness and your own experience. Kind of initiations into higher levels of self, right? Or maybe for some of us, it'll be taking that deep dive, falling into a well almost, going down and down and down. I know that when I was a little girl, I was really interested in the story of Alice in Wonderland. It was like, I was too big, the hole was too deep, and then I would suddenly emerge in a whole new world. Give yourself that kind of, child's play in these next 5 days that we have together, so that you can really do a lot of inner work, a lot of self-discovery, a lot of coming home to yourself. So really give these teachings some time. I welcome you to feel into the richness of all that is available to you in this summit. And each of these doorways opens to a different realm. Let's say for our purposes today, there are 7 sacred doorways to the self. We're creating our numinous temple. So let's imagine these 7 doorways to the self. I spend a lot of time thinking about the use of the power of the sacred seven. And I will be offering you a free gift in which we'll go into these ideas in a lot more depth. So you can just go ahead and get my free gift. I'm happy to share that with you. But for today, let's just think about what the seven doorways might be. So the first doorway, what would the first doorway be? It's a doorway of safety, of belonging, a feeling that you're home. You don't have to fear where you are because you're already there. You already have everything that you need to allow yourself to really open more and more to who you truly are. So the first doorway of safety, and the second doorway of belonging, the third doorway of clarity and focus, the fourth doorway of self-compassion and love, the fifth doorway of honesty and speaking your truth, the sixth doorway of opening your vision, and the seventh doorway into your own divinity. Now I'm working with these concepts of the sacred seven, and we could equally think about the seven chakras. Some people have actually opened the sphere into the 12 chakra system from the fifth dimension, but the classic seven chakras are the same doorways. The chakra of connection and belonging, the connection and belonging of the second chakra. Below that, the feeling of groundedness, of safety, of security, of knowing that you are, and you're here for purpose and for a reason. And then as we move up and breathe in, we open into the third chakra, that place of focus and connection and power, and really knowing what it is that we need to do and to be, to create our actionable task, what our gift or our offering actually is in this world. It's also the feeling that no one can throw you off your center. You're here, you're sovereign, you're connected, you're grounded through that power base that we have. And only then can we have the feeling and the connection and the safety to move into the heart space, to open into the space of self-compassion and compassion for others. It is the place of the Vajra diamond star, the center of opening into our radiance. It's also a doorway to open us into what is our spiritual awareness, what is our doorway into the beyond, what we are given to really open into the greater field of being as we live our lives, and really what we give out from us, the giving out and the receiving back, the movements of the heart. And then we move into the fifth chakra, the chakra of the voice, the ability to speak, the ability to be visible, to share our Dharma, to become a vehicle and a channel for what needs to be spoken in this time, in this place. And then as we come higher into our vision, our opening into the third eye, the eye of knowing, of being, that brings in the vision of our healed world, a healed vision of what is possible for us, what is available to us as we open into the unknown. We see it, we feel it, we can touch it. And from there, the place of the crown chakra, opening to the above and really receiving from the beyond, from those beings who are there for us, our higher guides, the ability to really awaken into a higher vibration of our beingness. When we come back into these 7 doors, this etheric temple of beauty, I'm reminded of a very small temple that I visited in Egypt many, many years ago. It's called Komombo, and it is an interesting place because it's kind of out of the way. I think it's on the Nile, but it's an out of the way, very small temple. And it is said that the initiate in that temple had to actually go down into a tunnel on their hands and knees and move through this tunnel. And when they would open to the other side of this tunnel, there would literally be 7 doors in front of them. This is really true. I've been there. And of course now, so many thousands of years later, there's no color and drawings on the walls. It's just the concrete that's left. But if you can imagine the initiate having to make a choice between one of these 7 doors based on their own intuition, this is what I'm imagining for us, that we have the opportunity to open one door, to bravely go through that door and to see what is on the other side, that we're actually emerging into the other side of that door. We were standing on the threshold and then opening to see what is there for us, what teaching is there for us, what elixir is there, what tastes or smells or poems will show up for us in that. And then at that place, it becomes a key for us to actually deepen into one of those aspects of self. And knowing that you will have the opportunity to step through all of those doors at some point. Our humanness at this time in world history is asking us to choose to stay embodied in our humanity so that we can take the opportunity now to step on this threshold into this new eon, to see what is happening and why we've chosen to come here at this time, at this shift in the ages. It's been prophesied by many, many different indigenous cultures. They call this the progression of the equinoxes, and that every 2,000 years, there's a movement actually backwards in the zodiac. So if you think of ancient Sumer times, 4000 BCE, that was the time of the bull. It was the Taurus age. And then 2,000 years later, the time of the ram or Aries. And Aries being the masculine energy and the power and control and taking over countries and many, many wars that were going on. And then 2,000 years of the age of Pisces, which they called the Messianic age, the desire to have a savior, to take us out of here, to open to a space where through maybe love and humility that we could accept This is very much where Christianity was at the center. And now this time, right now, is a shift again into the age of Aquarius. And it's as if all of that desire to put our emphasis into gurus or one teacher, one God who would take us into, Neverland, that we all have that within us now to be part of this opening and the acceptance of what we are capable of in humanity, in oneness. It's such a beautiful vision. And as we see things, the polarities of our world almost seemingly more and more strained, it seems that out of that, something really beautiful is emerging. Something that we can hear and sense and touch as a new way of being. As Rumi said, out beyond the place of right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. I will find you there. I will see you there. And I also resonate with a T.S. Eliot poem that was actually written in the early 20th century. And in this poem, it was called Little Giddings. T.S. Eliot wrote, "We shall not cease from exploration. And the end of all our exploring will be to come to the place where we started and know it for the first time. Through the unknown remembered gate, when the last of earth left to discover is that which was the beginning, at the source of the longest river, the voice of the hidden waterfall. And the children in the apple tree, not known, because not looked for, but heard, half heard in the stillness between two waves of the sea. Quick now, here, now, always, a condition of complete simplicity, costing not less than everything. And all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. When the tongues of flame are enfolded in the ground, not of fire, and the fire and the rose are one." Beautiful, beautiful alchemical prayer. And here's another alchemical prayer which I've learned. You could say this morning, noon, and night if you wish. Dear universe, please bring me everything I need at this time, even that which I do not yet know is possible, that I may fulfill my purpose or my dharma, whatever word you want to share and say at that. So it's the frequencies that are shifting. The frequencies of our known world are changing. It's as though we're being straddled between one world and another. The empire age is the way that I've researched and studied the old world, that patriarchal world in which, one person had to be on top and only one person could know the truth and everybody else had to be, little soldiers underneath that one person, right? And that whole world is shifting, where we don't need to have one person. That whole model is shifting, in which we don't have to hold our territory and our land and our possessions. As a matter of fact, the possession that we hold is even more etheric. It is a desire to dance in the beauty of the temple. It's the experiences that are so valuable, not the material possessions. And some call that the planetary era. So we're moving from the Empire Age to the planetary era. And we're bringing all aspects of ourselves to that place. So it becomes a harmony with self, a harmony with others, and a harmony with nature. As we open and honor the two-legged ones and the four-legged ones and the eight-legged ones, to open, to appreciate and to steward all of the beings that are here on the earth and caring for them. I love that word stewardship, because that's where I feel like the planetary era is really a part of what we're wishing for ourselves and for others. So it's very important now, more than ever, to not get hijacked by those ego stories. The ego cherishes the known as opposed to the unknown. It wants the familiar. The ego is very afraid of the unknown, terrified of the unknown. But we want to create an environment in which safety as that first doorway and belonging as the second doorway create a foundation for you to actually take a leap. There is no fear when one holds the radiant light of the sun in their heart. There is no darkness when one holds the radiant light of the sun in their heart. You can take on your self-leadership and your emotional mastery, because fear is a made-up thing. They say fear is false evidence appearing real. And I just love that. It's false evidence appearing real. And when you see it for what it is, that it's false evidence, you can just break through that and allow the depth of your connection, the true connection, your groundedness, and that radiant light that lives in your heart to really open you to that space of your own potentiality. Because it's only in that space where are you really going to be able to take aligned action for your life, directed action. See, that's the foundation, the foundational chakras, being safety and belonging and focus for directed action. So I want to just pause here and just share a little bit about myself and really how I got into all of this beautiful spiritual work. So I've been talking a little bit about fear. And my story is actually a lot about fear of death. I was an Air Force child, and we saw a lot of war and war effort. I was always petrified in cars, and I think I must have internalized a lot of what was going on out in the world and what my father would bring home into the home, because I was just always afraid that that other shoe was going to fall. We were going to get in this terrible car accident or something. And actually this overarching fear is something that I carried with me, but I also had a lot of joy and a lot of poetry. I was a child who loved to go out into the woods and be myself and dance and play. But almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, when I was 18 years old, I actually got into a head-on collision, and I was the only one in the car that was conscious. I had to pull my mother out of the car, and I actually had to psychically push the souls of the other two people back into their bodies. And it sounds a little bit grandiose, but I felt like that psychic energy of saying, no, you cannot die, was really part of that experience for me. And only 4 months later, I was in another fluke car accident. I was in the back seat of this car at this point, but we were rounding a corner in Colorado at a pretty high speed, and there was a person in the middle of the road. We actually killed him. We hit and killed him. And it was a very, very traumatic experience. So especially for me, so soon after the first one. But we were sitting up on a hill, and this young man, he was probably 17 or 18 years old, actually came up and sat down beside me and said, what's going on? And I said, well, that's you down there. You just died. You were killed by our car. I'm so sorry. And, you know, he kind of vanished. But that experience of seeing a soul out of the body was so profound for me for the second time in, you know, a number of months when I was 18 years old, that I actually really got it. I understood that we have a physical body and we have a soul being. We're both of those things. And in our earth time that we choose to come down here to, you know, to do our work, to learn and to grow. But as we depart, the soul just walks right out of the body into the portal. So my portal in many ways is a portal of death, the threshold and the questions that I've asked, you know, of what is reality and what are we here for, is really that question of, you know, it could all end so easily, so quickly, and why does it end, right? And then I'll just share one other story. Just a few years after that, my own sister unfortunately died of cancer. But what happened to me because of that and because of my karmic and loving connection with her is that she sort of became my guardian angel. She became my assistant when I was doing hands-on healing with people. I saw her. We talked to each other. Not often. She would just come back down occasionally, probably when I was calling her in. Because, you know, these beings are now in the other realm, and they're living in this incredible space of openness and glory, really. And they only come back because we ask them to. We need them. We want them. Or maybe we're in such grief that, you know, we're in so much pain and suffering that for a time, you know, we're really the ones that need their assistance. They don't really need our help to be on the other side. So for me, that veil between worlds has always been thin. And based on those experiences, when I moved to New York City, I was a dancer and a choreographer. And I did a lot of archetypal dances. I worked with Persephone and Demeter into the underworld. I worked with Inanna and Demuzi, which was the ancient Sumerian culture that I was speaking about earlier. They lived in the underworld and they came back. So for me, that influence of, or those questions, I should say, of asking, you know, what am I here for? What are we doing here? They were really, they were answered by my own exploration in my dances. And I will say that I've had two really big influences in my life. One was through the Tibetan Buddhism, Dujum Rinpoche, who is a really high lama, and some Khenpos that I worked with. And that's where I really started doing meditation practice, in which we did a lot of visualization. This is Vajrayana meditation. So you really practice and open to the energies or the deity practices and take them on. You literally embody those energies when you're doing the practices, which elevates your consciousness and moves moves us into a more enlightened state of being. And at the end of our time together today, I'll take you through a very brief Vajra practice that I love to do. The other influence was Joseph Campbell. And through the books of Carl Jung, also that archetypal energy in the world, Joseph Campbell really researched all of the cultures throughout the world for their religious practices. And he had a place in New York City called the Theater of the Open Eye, and his wife, Jean Erdman, was a dancer. So they really brought in these archetypal energies through movement and research and dance, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place. So I spent a bit of time there. And I bring this all together in my own life coaching too. So I help my clients first release that great fear that they're holding on to, whatever it is. For me, it was a fear of the other shoe dropping, of, I was going to die. It was very, abstract, but it was in my nervous system and affected me for a long time. So I have a lot of compassion for people in the beginning of our entrepreneurial journey, or whatever kind of work you want to bring out into the world, to really release some of those deep-seated fears that are, false evidence appearing real. And then from there, as you grow in your strength and your confidence and your resilience, you can really open into your own sovereignty and power and learn to speak up more. Sometimes saying no is a good way to speak up, to know your boundaries and really move forward in your own mastery. So if you will, see this as like a pyramid, the base of a pyramid, a triangle. And you have, your confidence and your resilience and your inner sovereignty and power as your foundational aspects of the pyramid. And then at the top of this tetrahedron is your movement into divinity, your openness to the divine and bringing those realms, opening that doorway to the divine, whatever it is for you. And then every part of that tetrahedron in the middle is like your own embodiment. It's bringing that light into the body, into every cell of your being, and feeling it glistening and glowing and moving you and bringing breath and life and energy to your own healing. The process of healing is really pretty special. We actually are being healed every night as we sleep. So that miracle of regeneration, we don't even know the extent to which we are being regenerated as humans, as sentient beings, because all animals have this capacity. The problem is that it is so easy to collapse ourselves back into those lower vibrations. It's like we collapse and disappear ourselves because we have the habit of defaulting into the lower vibrational state based on our habits and our emotions. So we're repeatedly telling ourselves stories like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not capable. And then we create these stories about all the reasons why we can't have what we want. It's like going around in circles in a hamster wheel. And how do we get through that? How do we open that door for ourselves? Because this is our default energy. It's like, allowing the emotions of anger and guilt and shame, those feelings of not enoughness to capture us, to hijack our energy, and to not allow us to be the beautiful being of light that we truly are. And so the vibration of healing energy and healing wisdom is the journey of the integrated self, right? It is bringing those frequencies into our conscious awareness and working with the lower frequencies, working with those too, with a loving heart and opening to, can I free and dissolve those energies so that I can hold the radiant light of the sun in my heart, right? And that's what I call the Vajra diamond light. I actually don't call it that. It is called that in Vajrayana Buddhism, the Vajra sun. So in a minute, I want to take you into that meditation with what I call the six-pointed star of abundance. And this is based on a meditation that I learned from my great teacher and friend, Rick Jarrow, who passed away on February 6th. And I just wanted to bring his beautiful energy into the summit because he personally has had a huge influence on my life. His energy has been with me since the early 90s. I think it was 1989 when I first met him and started working with him. I led the movement in these 5-day workshops that Rick would do at Omega, which is this retreat center in New York City. In upstate New York. It's about 2 hours from the city. But Rick was just one of those shining lights and beautiful wisdom guides in this world. I had asked him, I had wanted him to be interviewed for this summit. And because, unfortunately he passed away before we could do this, I just really wanted to, to share his presence and how his influence has been such a guiding light in my world. And I, in this moment, would ask you the same. Who is that person who has really been a guiding light in your life, who has brought in their creativity in a deeper way for you? As Rick and I started Temple of Beauty, literally started Temple of Beauty on the living room floor of his 183rd Street apartment one day, when he brought this vision of how we could move beyond words, right? In that field beyond right doing and wrong doing. There is a field, I will meet you there. That place where we can just strip ourselves back to our innocence, back to our true nature, the connection that we have with our creative expression and creativity and knowingness. This is the Temple of Beauty. This is the portal that we come to together. So let's just finish now, taking the time together, and thank you so much for being with me and taking this time to come home to your own being, to your own self. And I invite you to close your eyes for this meditation. And we'll just do a short meditation of bringing the sun into our heart. So breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. And bring your awareness and your attention to your root. Bring it all the way down to your sitting bones, down into your legs, down into your feet. Imagining a beautiful red root going all the way down to the center of the earth. Take a few deep breaths in and out. And now bringing your attention up to your belly, expanding a beautiful orange light into the belly. And just feel yourself belonging, being so safe and at home here in your own body. Breathing that creativity and that sense of being and belonging right into the world. And now with your next breath in, coming up to your solar plexus, feeling a beautiful yellow light right under the rib cage, glowing like the sun, bringing clarity and focus, and openness and courage to your being. And we'll bring that beautiful yellow light up through the spine into the heart center, opening with a glow, opening with a beautiful, beautiful green energy, opening that Vajra diamond light into the heart center, seeing it radiating out in all directions, getting stronger and stronger, opening out through the head centers, opening out in front of you, opening behind you, opening to the left of you, opening to the right of you, opening back down into the earth, and opening up into the heavens, up into the heaven realms, bringing that light of bounty and beauty, expanding into every cell, seeing that brilliant glow opening, turning into a white diamond light. And feeling it up into your throat center, into your forehead, and opening out, out, out into the heaven realms. And you meet the heaven realms, that energy, that light, that love is pouring back into you. You're receiving the light of the central sun, way up and beyond, pouring that light back into your heart, feeding every soul of your being, expanding and extending, bringing you very, very much home to your heart. To the love that you are, to the love that you can offer others, but especially to the self-compassion that you give to yourself. As you take just a few more deep breaths in and breathe out, and allowing yourself to be fully present. Sensing all of you integrated, happy and at home. And you'll just begin now to gently move your fingers and toes. Allow this light of abundance and freedom to carry you throughout your day. And I just want to end our time together thanking you to be here with me and with all of us. And I wish you a rich and happy experience this week. Please take my free gift. It's right under this video. And we will see you in the next interview. Take good care.